Page 35, Strange Lands. This is a melody by Robert Schumann. They have a box at the top of the page where they're talking a little bit about some of the basic rules that Schumann believed in. Lots of people believed in different rules. Got lots of rules. We got rules coming out the yin-yang. There's rules everywhere. And some of them contradict and conflict. Some teachers thought one way and other teachers thought other ways. And if you read through the rules, I think they pretty much make sense, sort of. Playing time, the beat goes on, you know, type thing. Yeah, okay, we got that. Strive to do the easy pieces well and beautifully, because it's better to do an easy piece well than a hard piece mediocre. And that's true. I agree with that. Stay within you want to challenge yourself, but if you're going to play for people, play stuff you can play very well and learn to play pieces very well. Number 3, always play as if a master heard you. Oh, isn't this dated? A master? Ooh. They're referring to somebody who knows how to play the piano, right? Okay, yes. Always play as if a music teacher or somebody who knows what they're doing is listening to you, so they will be pleased with what you're playing. I don't know if I agree with that or not, because you're playing for yourself, and of course you want to play for other people, but I hope that primarily you're doing it for yourself. Just learn to play pieces really, really well, and you don't have to worry about who's listening, is my point. Because you start concerning yourself about who's listening, then the nerves kick in. You get nervous and you can't play, and all kinds of things go wrong. So just play the music. Focus on the music. Don't worry about who's listening. And the last one, playing too slow or too fast are equally great. False. That's wonderful if you know what too slow and too fast are, but it's all, you know, subjective. So you're going to have to decide what too slow and too fast are, and it's going to be different for different people. If you start playing way too fast, then things get sloppy, you miss notes, and your rhythm's off, and you can't, you know, And if you play too slow, it's like, are you ever going to get done with this mess type thing? So, yeah, you want it to be musical and in time and all that. This piece is in the key of G major again. Got one sharp. All the F's are going to be sharp. 3/4 time. I don't see anything tricky about it. Your hands are going to move around a little bit. Read the notes and you'll see what it is. The fingering is fine the way it is. The main thing we're after here is the pedaling. We're using this, what we call legato pedaling, where you're pedaling everything. So you're always got sound going. See, legato is connected. So legato pedaling is connected pedaling all over the place. And I recommend you use this lag pedaling, or what we call overlap pedaling, where the pedal overlaps the hands just a little bit. In other words, you're going to play the notes first and then the pedal goes up and down. Not at the same time. The problem with doing it at the same time is that if you're at least a little bit off with the pedal, a little bit too soon, you'll get silence. You don't want silence. So we overlap it, and that ensures no matter what happens, if you get a little off on the pedal, you're still going to get sound. It's a much more forgiving pedaling. It's the pedaling I taught all my students. It's the pedaling I was taught and I use almost all the time. There's different pedaling techniques, but we're dealing with this right now. The melody here is in the right hand, so we want to hear the melody. The first line without the pedal is here. So that has to come out, that melody, the melody. That's what we want to hear. This other stuff is background. Keep it soft. This is a beautiful piece, and the actual piece is not called Strange Lands. It's called something else. I don't recall what it's called. Album for the Young. There's a whole bunch of pieces in this Album for the Young, and I think this is one of them. We haven't got into phrasing yet, but I'd like to add one minor little thing to this. If you can play this fine the way it is, I'd like to take each line. It just works out this way. Each line is a separate musical sentence. Now, not all music, you can't divide it by the lines. Musical sentences can be anywhere. But in this arrangement right here, it works out that each line is a separate musical sentence. Well, it's like talking in sentences. You have a slight break in the sound between the sentences when you take a breath, etc. Well, we can do that here too by adjusting our pedaling just a little bit. In other words, it's not going to be legato pedaling throughout the whole thing, we want a little bit of silence between the lines, between the phrases, between the musical sentences. And to do that, we have to lift the pedal up with the hands and then leave it up so we get just a speck of silence, and then push it down after we play the notes in the next line. For instance, if I play the last measure in the first line, it's like this. And then when I lift the hands up to go to the next line, I'm going to lift the pedal up with the hands so I get just a little bit of silence. And then after I play the B in the next line in the right hand, then I push the pedal down right after that. So to play the last measure of the first line, first measure of the second line, it would be this way. You hear just a speck of silence in there. So I'm going to play the first two lines for you with this silence in so you can hear the phrasing, and it's this way. Just a little bit of silence, so it's not all connected. It's another type of pedal. We'll get into it eventually. It's just this piece works so much better if you can phrase it properly is all. So there's a red at the bottom, which I'm going to ignore, but you can put that in there. The last two measures there is one. And then you slow down, and even in that last measure, when you're counting that out to 3, because it's hold it for 3 counts, you slow down the count. So it's going to sound like you're holding it longer than 3 counts, but you're not. You just slowed down the counting. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, off. I might mention, because I got a question from a viewer, and I haven't been explaining it very well, that when you're counting these out, you only count it when you're learning it and when you're getting the rhythm. Once you got it, you don't need to count it anymore. You should have it. So the counting is just up front initially. It's not forever on a piece. I mean, it is forever when you're learning new pieces because you have to count them to begin with. But afterward, you don't need to count it anymore once you know it. We'll also mention when I do with these Play With Me sessions, because I don't explain it every time, that I'm not playing the dynamics. I'm playing it all about the same. I'm not bringing out the melody. I'm playing it all about the same because I'm not trying to perform it here. I just want you to hear the notes and the rhythm. So you play with me to see if you're playing the same note I am, because if it's not, you've got a wrong note. I'll go give us 3 counts. Let's try this out together slowly. So the right hand is here and the left hand is here to start. Foot's on the pedal. Here we go. 1, ready, go.